guys, it's Lily here, and I hope you guys are doing extremely well today. What am I doing? Today we are in a new location, my parents' room, because I didn't feel like recording in my room today. I mean, do you blame me? This bed's so much bigger. I could like stretch on here. I even made the bed because my brother's dog was here earlier and she likes to mess up the bed. So I made it for them. Also, they have a big ass TV, so I like watching TV in here. That's not the point of this. Me talking about random crap. Anyways, today's video is actually supposed to be a story time. A story time about writing and directing my own show. But before we begin, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at lilygreco_official and follow me on TikTok at l.g.2002. So, in order to talk about my play, we actually have to go back to a year ago. So every year, seniors at my school do the senior project where they connect the critical concerns of my school to a topic of their choice and they bring it together for the community. I don't know if that made any sense, but I tried. So, a few years before I became a junior, I already knew what this project I was going to do was going to be about. I knew it was going to be about autism because, as some of you guys may know, I am on the autism spectrum, and I always find it important to spread awareness about autism. However, I did not know what I was going to do with autism. At first I thought I was going to do a presentation, but my sophomore year I actually did a presentation on autism to my school. So that was kind of out of the picture. Anyways, the seniors have to present these projects and the juniors are invited, and by invited I mean kind of forced but kind of not, to come and watch the presentations. They do it in front of a panel and they can ask questions and all that fun stuff. So I got to see one of my friend's presentations and she did a costume drive, and through that costume drive she got that inspiration from doing theater. And that got me to thinking, I wonder what I could do to connect theater with autism. Then a light bulb hit me in the face. So I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but I actually started writing musicals and plays when I was 14. Script writing is something I am very, very passionate about and I love doing with all of my heart. And that got me to realize, wait a second, I could do a play about autism. So in April of last year, I started writing a plot for a play called In Our Perspective. I was working on my senior project before most of my classmates even thought of what they were going to do. So the idea was I was going to write this play and I was going to perform it at a theater in February because we had to have a certain timeline because the presentations are in March and our actions had to be done before a certain day in February, so I was like, I'll just do the show in February. So that was the plan. I had to talk to a lot of people to convince them to let me do this because a lot of people did not think I should do it because of how easily stressed I get and also just how hard the concept was. And I told people that I already had experience directing a show since I student directed shows in the past. Well, I assisted, but it's the same thing. But I'll admit, even I was kind of doubting myself. I was like, you wanna know what? I don't think I'm ever gonna get these people to agree with me and let me do this, so maybe I should just give up. However, I completely forgot that I wrote a letter to my school's president telling them that I think we should have a Autism Awareness Month celebration for our school. in June of last year, she emailed me saying she would like to meet with me. At that point, I believe I did get my action approved, but it was definitely like I don't know, you should do this, I think you should reconsider. But anyways, I was freaking out because I had no idea what we should do for an Autism Awareness Week, or week, month, whatever it was. So I sat down, I came up with a bunch of ideas, and actually one of them was an encore of my play, because like I said, my play was going to be in February. However, the president told me that maybe instead of doing it in February, that I do it in April at my school. I agree with the idea. I had to convince the moderator to think it was a good idea, and she did approve for me to do a late action as long as I did like something before the deadline. So that's what I did. Now let's talk about the plot of my show. So in our perspective, it's about two autistic teenagers, one being a nonverbal boy and one being a verbal girl. Milo struggles in school because he's nonverbal, so he can't really communicate to others his desires, what he needs, what he wants, all that fun stuff. But with the help of his therapist, he actually develops a voice. And Zelda's story is actually, I was going to say loosely, but it's pretty much based off of my life. I never talked about this. I'm going to talk about it eventually, but let's just say Zelda is a 16-year-old autistic teenager, a junior, and she has a hard time fitting in at her school. But she does something and it changes her life for better and for worse. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the plot. It's two stories of how they live their lives. They don't intersect with each other. They're completely separate, but they're in, the same show. Like one scene, it'll be Milo, and then the next scene, it'll be Zelda. You know what I mean? So yeah, I started writing that plot in April, like I mentioned before. And then once I finished the plot line, like just, a summary, I used that summary and I started to write a script. I started writing it in June, and then I finished around this time, July. The script, it's a 2-act play, and I believe it was 40 minutes long, I want to say. It was 57 pages, and I believed it was 40 minutes when I did the read-through, which I'll talk about in a couple minutes. But yeah, I finished, and I was ready to start searching for a place to perform it. So senior year came around and I was emailing a whole bunch of places in my area, figuring out where I could put on this show. I was originally going to do it in my black box at school. However, the dates that I wanted, I had them. However, I didn't have a place to rehearse because I was originally going to do this after school, and I have a dance team at my school, or like a dance area or whatever. Like a dance group comes in and teaches there, and yeah, I was not able to get the place for my desired rehearsal time because I wanted 3 hours with the cast. And doing it after school, that also meant that I could use outside people because I knew there were not going to be enough people at my school to be very, very interested, and I did not want at first the middle schoolers to do it because I thought that the material, specifically in the Zelda story, was a bit too much for them, if you know what I mean. So every single place that I emailed, they either did one of 3 things. They said that they did not rent spaces. They said it was going to be too expensive. It was going to be like $7,000 a week, and I needed it from January to April. Or they never reached back to me. And In fact, there's this one place that I emailed, and I told them what I wanted, and they did email me back. They emailed me back to their like subscription, so like, what's going on at the theater? And I'm like, I don't want that. I want to know, can I do my show at your theater? Also, it's worth noting that I was gonna have to pay for all of this. The school was not going to pay for me to do a show somewhere else. So in September, I did do a initial read through at my school. I had a sign up sheet, only 2 people signed up. I had announcements and all that fun stuff, and people did come, a small group of people did come. I was gonna say a lot, but a small group of people did come. It was mainly the literary club at my school who came, which I appreciate so much that they came. And yeah, that was pretty much the read-through. Went really well. That's when I timed it to see how long it was going to be, because I know my moderators and everyone was concerned that it was going to be too long and I was going to bore people. So that didn't happen. So luckily, it was 40 minutes long. I think each act was 20 minutes, if I can remember correctly. I don't know, but obviously we didn't do actions or anything, and there was a lot of action. So give or take, it would have been like an hour. So up until November, I want to say, maybe December, my show was in the development stage, and it was pretty much going very well, smooth sailings. And by smooth sailings, I mean this wasn't going smooth at all. Theater companies were still not emailing me back and telling me yes or no, which was very frustrating. So I ended up coming up with this idea, and I think my moderators also helped me with this. It was something I really didn't want to do, but I did not have a choice. So what I realized is that the Milo and Zelda stories, they did not have to be like in one play. So what I did was I separated the Milo and the Zelda stories into 2 separate plays, and I decided that I was going to do both plays at my school, and I was going to do them during this block we have, a half-hour block, and we were going to have rehearsals, and we were going to have the performances during those half-hour blocks. Which meant that I had to do a lot of cuts. I cut characters, I cut ensemble members, I cut one scene in the beginning with the students telling the story, or setting up the story, I guess, which sucked. I did not want to do that, especially to my play, to my baby, but I had to do what I had to do in order to get this thing to work. It also meant that I was not going to have any outside students, because this was going to be during the school day, which means I had no choice but to use the students at my school. And for those of you who do not know, I go to an all-girls school, so yes, guys are playing girls, or girls are playing guys, the other way around. But I was very hopeful. I told my choir to help me out. If you guys want to do the show, please come to the auditions and all that fun stuff. I even got to the point where I opened it up to, at first it was the 8th graders, because I thought, the 8th graders are old enough, they could probably do it. Then I ended up opening up to the whole middle school so they can do it, which did kind of work out in my favor. It really did work out in my favor. So I had 3 audition dates. I had Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. On that Tuesday, I want to say only 3 people came. On Thursday, I don't think anyone came. Maybe like 1 or 2 people again. But one of them was a member of my bowling team and also an 8th grader, and she said that she will convince her friends to come by and do it. And then Friday was technically supposed to be a callback, but the only people who were called back were the people who actually showed up in the first place. So, but luckily my friend came through, a bunch of 8th graders came, and I am so thankful for them because we just had enough people for me to do both shows. However, I did have to have most of the Milo cast. The Milo cast has less people than the Zelda cast. I think the Zelda cast has 11 characters, and the Milo cast has 7, I believe, 6 or 7. So I did have to make some changes. The first change I had to do was I definitely was not going to have enough people. I had these student ensembles, and what they were going to be was they were going to be people at first, obviously, but then I had to change it, and they were now going to be voice recordings of probably me, because let's face it, I don't have a lot of friends. My family won't do it for me. But yeah, I was going to do the voice recordings of the students, and I was going to say their lines, and it was going to probably play over, a speaker or something. The second thing that happened that I had to do is, like I mentioned, I believe I mentioned this before, but most of the Milo cast was also in the Zelda cast. However, to make sure it was a bit fair, if they had a minor role in the Milo story, they had a bigger role in the Zelda story, and if they had, for example, the lead was in the Milo and Zelda story, and our Milo played a smaller role. The third thing that kind of was keeping me up at night was to be me or to not be me. So I was serving as director and costumer, because we all know I love being a costumer. However, I was thinking way too much, because the Zelda story is based off of me. I had no idea whether or not I was going to play me or not. On one hand, it would be the only time I would get a lead, because I put myself in that position. And it definitely would be easier, because obviously I'll know my blocking and I'll know my lines and all that fun stuff. On the other hand though, like I said, I easily get stressed. And I personally thought that if I did the show, as well as direct and costumed it, I was going to be so stressed. So at the end of the day, I decided to cast one of my friends as Zelda, and I was going to be her stunt double. No, there weren't like tricks and flips and all that fun stuff, because we all know I can't do that. But there's this scene that I can't really spoil, because then it spoils, my play. But I guess you're gonna have to wait and see if it ever goes on Broadway. So yeah, that happened. I ended up casting everyone. The Milo cast was way easier to cast. I knew who I wanted and what. And like I said, the Zelda cast was actually really, really hard, because again, there was that whole, am I going to play me or not? And if I wasn't going to play me, like I said, I didn't know who was going to play me. But I ended up picking one of my friends. I mean, now we're really close friends, but before we're just, I know you, you know me. She's in my choir. Hi, Kira. Anyway, so the rehearsal process. The rehearsal process actually went better than I thought. I had a plan. I planned this out ahead of time. I did say, who's coming when. If you can't make it, let me know. We'll work something out, and it'll be all fun and games. However, the hardest part was a lot of other things. So, like I mentioned, at first, the show was going to be, what I had Wednesday, this one Wednesday in April was going to be the Milo show, and then the next Wednesday was going to be the Zelda show. I was terrified because while the show itself was definitely not as long, it was because I cut it in half. It was probably 20 minutes each, but that was just running lines. I was mainly terrified of what was going to happen with the Zelda story because that one was way longer than the Milo story when I broke it up. So, yeah, did I end up switching the dates? Actually, no, I switched the dates the first time where I ended up doing, it was originally going to be on the weekends, but then I ended up changing it to the weekday because I mentioned to my cast, it was just going to be once a week thing or twice a week if you're in both stories, and that's it. However, I had my 8th graders tell me that they were going on a trip the week of the Zelda story, and that was when I needed most of the 8th graders. So I had to switch the dates again, and this time I ended up getting the auditorium, and I ended up doing it at, not in the evening, but in the afternoon, like right after school. So that way, obviously I was not going to probably get a huge crowd of people because, it's not at night, and it was also it was going to be the Monday and Tuesday of April. So, yeah, that was a whole thing. I changed the date a second time, but it was more convenient, and I told the cast that's the only day where you have to stay after for the show. And then my leading lady, well, actually, technically, she was a minor character in the Zelda, or not the Zelda, in the Milo story. She told me that she had a lacrosse game on that Monday, and she wasn't like the lead, but she was like a supporting lead. And I did not want to recast. And I was so pissed. I did not know what I was going to do. I've been thinking about this. I had no idea what I was going to do. Then came the preview. I mentioned this earlier. I had a preview to do for my show. Yeah, that went well. Most of my cast was out. I was going to do the Milo story. I was going to do the first scene of the Milo story, but I believe my 2 of Milo's only friends, both of them were out, I believe. Or definitely one of them was out. Can't remember if the other one was, I think the other one was out too. Then the lead didn't show up at first. I had to go find the lead and drag her to the black box. And the worst part is, despite it being advertised, only 3 people showed up. And you wanna know what? Those 3 people were teachers. Granted, I was really, really happy that 3 teachers showed up because at least it wasn't nobody. Because if it was going to be nobody, I was just going to be like, you want to know what? Let's work on a rehearsal. Yeah, it was really hard being a director, especially working with your friends. It was hard because there were some times where I wanted to choke somebody. But anyways, other than that, being a director, we worked together. I had someone who knows theater better than I do. She made suggestions on how to make the play better. And then obviously the thing I also had to do was, costumes. The person who played me, she was blonde and tall. So nothing like me. So what we did was I got a really nice brown wig, and I was going to have her wear it because it was either her be a brunette or me be a blonde, and I did not want to be a blonde. And I'm the director, I get to do what I want, so she got to be a brunette. That was fun. Anyways, in February, we also did, not headshots, we did promo shots. I had both Milo and Zelda come in after school, and we took photos. It was fun. We had a lot of stickers. I don't know if I'm going to show you guys the pictures because personally I don't know if the people would agree to it. But yeah, we had pictures. It was fun. I definitely enjoyed being a photographer. I actually had a nice camera and we took photos. It was fun. And then, of course, this whole pandemic thing happened. The day that it was announced we were going to be going to school online, I was very, very upset. I was like, we're doomed. I need this time, to work with my cast. This show needs to happen. Now, of course, back then we were under the impression that, you wanna know what? It'll be fine. It's just gonna be until, spring break is over, and then we'll be back in April. No biggie. However, I did have to cancel those dates, and I was going to have to pick a new date, and it was definitely not going to be any time for, the Autism Awareness Month, because it was probably going to have to be in May, which, I could have done it in April if I really wanted to. However, I just did not feel comfortable doing that to my cast, and for me. So I just decided to, you want to know what? It's fine, no big deal. I'll just do it in May. At that point, I believe we finished blocking all the scenes. I might have had to catch a couple people up, but for the most part, we were done. However, like I said, I did not feel comfortable doing that to my cast. So I was like, we'll just do it in May, no big deal. And then, of course, it was announced that we were going to be doing online school after spring break. So that was kind of like oh crap, I don't want to admit it, but I think I have to do it, and I just don't want to do it. So I emailed the moderator. I was like, hey, look, I don't think this is going to be possible. I think I have to cancel. And my moderator agreed. She said I had to cancel my play, which was the hardest thing. I had to text out most of the cats. We had a Google Classroom. I wrote a post saying, hey guys, the play is canceled. We can't do it because of the pandemic. And that was the hardest thing I had to do, because at this point, I worked a year on this. This was my baby. Even though this wasn't my first play and it wasn't my first show I've ever written, this was the first show that I was going to have, performed in front of an audience. And that was something very special to me. And it was about autism, which is something I'm extremely passionate about. So for it to pretty much, be canceled, I was in a depressed state for the longest time, and I'm still a bit depressed about it because, like I said, the show was my baby. I worked so hard on this show just for it to, pretty much get canceled. It was the worst day of my life. With that being said, I really hope in the future that my show will be produced. Maybe I produce it for college. Maybe it'll go on Broadway. I don't think it will. I hope it does. But it's hard to get it on Broadway. But yeah, like I said, it was very depressing. I'm hopeful that one day my show will be performed. However, it sucks that it won't be with the cast, which I grew very fond of. I don't think I ever showed it to them, but I am extremely fond of them. I'm thankful for them, especially the 8th graders. I'm very thankful for them. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even have a show to begin with, and it would have been canceled way sooner, and I would have to do another project that, while I would probably be happy with, I probably wouldn't truly enjoy it as much as I did my play. So the moral of my story is, keep trying. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Never give up. I had so many people say I shouldn't have even done my play, and look how far I came. I came really, really far. And I like to thank all the moderators who moderated my rehearsals. I would like to thank the school for my school for even letting me do this. Yeah, it was a great experience, and I would do it again. So thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know if you guys want any more story times in the comment section down below. And yeah, I will see you guys later. I love you. Bye.